This poem is called Overseer. The overseers back in the days just turned into officers. The first police were the slave patrol, so it's called Overseer. They're mowing the lawn, blades left lying in the street, onlookers appalled. All cops are bad, guilty till proven innocent. In a sense, this prejudice have been evident since the plantation. Overseer, officer, overseeing master's commodity. This is still police policy. Odyssey with me as I narrate you through their histories of monstrosities. His story told from the hunter's point of view, where they point, shoot, then fork-tongue their paperwork while enjoying days off, still collecting paper from work. Despite the hurt, my people have persevered and personally veered from the serve and protect. We are tired of your bullet points meeting our young subjects, subjecting our families to grieving. This grievance has become routine, as if it's been rehearsed. Then they try to coerce us to believe that blue lives matter. Well, those blue lives have been the substances of most of the hashtags in the Black universe. You and I, let's converse about these all-star murderers. NYPD stole Eric Gardner's last breath. Tamir Rice wasn't allowed his right to bear arms in the open carry state of confusion. Maitrice Richardson was released on OR, or she was already dead. They tried to bland Sandra's flavor. Freddie's story was broken into a few gray areas. Oscar wasn't granted another pass on Bay Area's rapid transit. Cops are transitioning our youth into ancestors, and all y'all want to do is march. Well, it's May 2020, and the killings haven't stopped. It's two kinds of cops, bad ones and silent ones. Which one are you familiar with? See, we keep burying seeds knowing they won't grow.
I was waiting on you to keep going.
It's a lot more, but it's that poem has like 3 or 4 parts to it.
I knew that wasn't the end of that poem. I absolutely knew that was not the end of that poem. All y'all want to do is march. I want to talk about that for a minute, because a lot of poets write about social issues.
Right.
And there are a lot of socially conscious poets. I would venture to say almost every poet is socially conscious and has at least one piece in reference to the injustices of Black people. But I have to ask, because I'm hearing you when you say all y'all want to do is march and all of this is happening. Do you believe poets have contributed anything to helping move the Black plight forward?
Well, yes. One of my favorite writers is what is his name? Paul Laurence Dunbar. No, James Baldwin. I love Paul Laurence Dunbar too, but James Baldwin says artists are supposed to disturb the peace. And then if you know the history of poetry and griots, every revolution that's ever happened in the world started by artists. So it's a poet's job to communicate to the people what's really going on. My favorite poet is Gil Scott-Heron. His favorite poet was the Last Poets. Their favorite poet was Amiri Baraka. So it's been a lineage of poets that come and tell you the truth. And so that's one of the definitions of poetry, is a medium of truth. And if we're not out here promoting and giving the news to the people, then we just out here playing. And so I believe your voice is a weapon and you have to use it.
Right, right. All those poets I love very much. Amir Baraka, earlier known as Leroy Jones.
Yes.
Yes. Like, you know, he was mad at somebody. How the hell you named me Leroy? I think not. Elle, how do you feel about that? Do you believe that poets have moved the issues and the plight of Black people forward, or are they just talkers?
I absolutely believe that they have moved the issue forward. See, I think one of the things that art does is connect us in ways that, like, maybe this person can say what I'm feeling. They can put my soul to ink. I can see myself on the page now. I know more of who I am because they were able to encapsulate that. They were able to put my feelings outwards so that I can now act on them. Where before, maybe it was just bottled up frustration. And when you see lots of people sort of coming together in a moment, you know, maybe it's to rally behind a particular piece of work, whether it's a photo or whether it's a picture or whether it's a poem, then you're like, okay, these are people of like mind. We can probably get something done. I think poetry can be a call to arms.
Yeah. Because I always wonder, most of the time when we're doing our poems or spoken word or pieces of art, our audiences are Black. So are we preaching to the choir?
For me, don't shoot the messenger. Black people complain about it more. White people take it in the face.
Okay. Come on, talk about that.
So I've heard a lot, like I used to, when I first started doing poetry 20 years ago, I would go to Venice Beach, I would get $20 in ones, and I would just walk along the boardwalk and ask people if they wanted to hear poems. If you liked it, give me the $1 or $2 back. If you don't, keep it, and then tell me why you don't like it. I did all kind of revolutionary poems. The Black people would be like, man, we got to hear this again. And then the white people would be like, really? My people were horrible. Not all of them, but a lot of them.
Ooh, now that's interesting.
So it's because like we haven't been told the truth. Like I was a history teacher, so I got fired for teaching the truth and then got rewarded for teaching the lies. And so when you start teaching the truth, it messes up your foundation of everything you believed in. Mm-hmm. And so when you start messing with people's foundations, right? Because Malcolm X says you would be a fool to let your enemy teach your children. Well, who's teaching us history? And then history is taught by the people who won.
Ooh, 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 I got chills. Oh, I got chills.
So, and when you look at,
I feel like I need a refund on my student loans. I feel duped. I feel duped. I've been bamboozled, hoodwinked, led astray.
Right. And so when you start learning the truth, and then you start to realize like, you either get mad or you go crazy because it starts messing with your foundation.
Well, look, I'm not as deep as you guys. I'm quite shallow, and I play in the shallow end of the water a lot more than I walk over to the deep end. Something really has to get me hard. And so I'm going to play in the shallow end for a minute, but it's going to cross over into your deep end. So we're going to be right there where that line is, where they put the bars out. There was an episode of Good Times where Michael Evans got suspended from school because the teacher was teaching him something that he didn't believe because he'd read it in a Black history book. And he told the teacher, you're lying, that didn't happen. And they suspended him. And of course, Florida and James was like, you got to go back to school. Right. And he was like, I'm not going back to that school because they teaching me stuff that ain't true.
Right.
So
I've been there. My son, he was in the first grade, and it made me learn to be like, really think about what I say before I say it in front of him. But President's Day came and he went to schools telling people Happy Slave Masters Day. First grade. And the school tried to suspend this 6-year-old. And so I went to the school with the history and I said, the presidents that we're celebrating on this day owned slaves. So was he wrong or was he right? But it's what they teach. America's history, America's heroes have also been terrorists.
Yes.
And so we have to play that fine line. Like,
well, that's a harsh reality to face when given such history,
right?
And heroism attached to the history. I am interested in knowing, and what did the administrators say when you said, "Is this fact or fiction?" What my son said.
Well, they hated me because I brought them the truth, and then they couldn't suspend them. But a lot of teachers hate me because I know what they're supposed to be teaching my child or my children. So I always bring them that. And it was just like, from that point on, they couldn't, because like, he shouldn't have,
like they could still suspend him.
Yeah, but it would have been on grounds. They were saying he was inciting a riot. He's 6. A 6-year-old couldn't incite a riot.
Well.
But I mean, well, a lot of times it happens because people don't know the truth. And again, you shake up their foundation.
Yeah, the truth will shake up your foundation. It will rock it to the core. And I don't care what truth it is, who truth
right.
it is.